Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul channel. I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I just would like to say, may the words, expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem. This is a continuation of this series called Personal Stories and Practical Lessons to Learn and or Apply. This is part number 19. And this is another airport story. The other one that I shared was at the same airport. So a place that I travel every so often, like every few months, a day trip I take. It's about an hour away from where I am. And so this airport that I go to from like my destination to where I'm going, so I'm fairly familiar with when I get off the plane, it's usually the same terminal, and a lot of times it's the same gate. And it so happens that this trip was actually in that vein. The gate that I left from to my destination, and the same thing on the way back were the same exact. I'm pretty sure I think they were the same exact gates both ways, which is very interesting. Meaning, the departure from my home destination to the traveling destination, and then from there back. And this happened on May 28th of 25, and it was ROSH CHODESH SIVAN, Tafshin Pei Hey. So, and I like to emphasize the dates more in Hebrew anyway. So, very interesting. So what happened was, like I said, I'm pretty familiar. The other airport that I go to, the destination, is a much larger one than where I take off from. And, you can get lost if you don't know your way around, because like one of the last times I went, I don't know if it was the last time before, they kind of changed things around and I was a little confused, and then someone pointed me where to go, because I was used to going one direction to catch the bus I have to get, and it was just really strange. It was like, so when I got off this time and I come out of the plane into the terminal, and I'm very confused. Why is that? Because it didn't look familiar. So I knew I was not in the same terminal. Like I said, it's a huge airport. You can get so it's an international airport. It's just can be really confusing. So I was totally lost, because I had no clue where I was, and even where direction to go. I was like, this is not the same terminal. And what is it? They have a terminal, and then some that have like a number and then a letter. It's just really strange. Not that that's strange, but that's just how the airport is. So I just decided, okay, I'm just going to leave it up to Hashem. Because I've been going to this airport for like the last, I think, 3 years. And it's always been the similar. I mean, it wasn't always necessarily the same gate I would land when I land, but it was the same like terminal, so I always knew where it was. I think it was Terminal B, and then now this was Terminal D. So it was just really, I think that's what it was. So it was really confusing. So I just asked Hashem to guide me, blind faith, literally, having Beetachon and Emunah. I had no idea. I just had to go with Hashem wherever He was leading me. And that's just what I did. So I started walking, and I don't know, I took this, I went like straight from where I was. I think I made like a right out of the gate, like when I got out into the terminal. I kept walking, and then I see some signs. Of course, it's not, the airports are not totally, give you no direction. Of course, they tell you things above the, you see signs. So as I was walking through this terminal, then I see a sign for the Terminal B. And I says, oh, okay, I know that terminal, and pretty well. I mean, maybe I don't know the whole thing, but I says, why don't I just go in that direction, because I'm more familiar with that area. But it took me a long time till I get there. I was like walking. I remember I was walking and just kept walking, and there was so much I like I said, on the way I didn't know that I was going to get to this terminal B, but just kept walking blindly. Literally, Hashem was just taking me, and I was just having my faith and trust in Him. There's no other way for it to happen. Literally. And then so I just kept walking, and then like I said, when I saw the sign, I said, okay, let me head in that direction because that terminal is much more familiar for me. And then if I see certain things like landmarks, like there's certain restaurants or where there's this bathroom I usually use, I'll know, unless it could be that they'll change that, right? That's for me. I usually use those as landmarks. Sometimes if you don't know like the name of a street, you do that too. You say, oh, that building, this store is there, or this restaurant, so there's like a company. I think the name is Amy's. I'm not promoting Amy's, but they make natural food stuff products. So I know there's like a takeout there, and it's next to the bathrooms that they have. And they have like a private bathroom. This is the one I usually use. So I says, okay, let me just head into this terminal, even though it's not going to the outside of the airport. But I says, let me just head this way because I know this area. So I did that, and lo and behold, what did I find? I found this Amy's. I says, oh wow, this is amazing that I found this back to where I'm familiar with. And then I went to use the bathroom, and then from there I knew how to go out to get to the bus I had to take to go where I was going shopping. And the way I go to the bus, it's not like that. I'm sure there's other places where the bus. And I've been doing this for a few years already, so I just go with what I know, because I know there's places closer. I wouldn't have to walk maybe so far to get to the bus, but I just don't, I don't want to try to do something new and not know where I'm going. So Baruch Hashem, that was amazing that I was able to find my way there. Baruch Hashem Yishtabach Shemo, I got to the bus, and I got to my destination and did my shopping. Now the issue is now. So this city I go to, they discontinued one of the bus stops, the stop that I used to wait for the bus at. And the interesting part is when this happened, I think it was a few trips ago or something, I didn't know because the sign was not on the pole that it usually is. And I figured, oh, maybe, and I called even the company, and it says, oh, yeah, that's the stop. And then what happened was, as I was waiting, so this is an old story, but as I was waiting, it just relates. As I was waiting, I saw the bus, and it kind of went past me, and I was like, what? So I ran a little, and I didn't have to go that far, because then he came up to a light, Baruch Hashem, or else I would have had to wait like a half hour, I think, for the next bus. And I asked him to open the door, and he says, that's not a stop anymore. He says, well, when I called, they told me it was. So he was very nice. He let me on. He didn't even charge me for the fare to get to the airport, get back to the airport. So the reason I'm saying this is because the new stop now, it's closer, kind of closer to where the store is, but what's in front of it is not something where I'd want to be. It's a house of Avodah Zarah, but I had no choice. So I think it was the last trip I went, which was a while before that, like 6 months before, I think, or almost 6 months. So I actually asked a shaila from somebody that knows halachas, and I says, what do I do? I have to wait for the bus. There's no other place to go. Should I, be reading like the Tehillim, something like to counteract the tumah and everything, the impurity. So he said, just don't face it. So, when I finished my shopping and I was going to the stop, of course, funny thing is, as I'm walking to the street, I could see the building, it had the thing on the top there, so I knew that's where I was supposed to go, even though, it's a Avodah Zarah. But in any event, so when I was waiting at the bus stop, of course, it's crazy that it's just on a street, like you wouldn't even realize it's there. It's like right there. It's not like set in. It's not like sometimes they have them where it's like set in or something. It's like not like right, but it's right there. You walk on the street and you see it right there. So I just faced to the street. I didn't face towards it, and which what I would do anyway, because that's the direction of the bus, onto the street. But Baruch Hashem, another amazing thing Hashem does, I don't think I was there more than a few minutes or not even, and the bus came. So Baruch Hashem, I didn't have to wait there that long. But I asked, so that's the story. I had no choice. Now, the thing is, on the way back out of this airport, back to my home airport, the home airport, it was in the same new terminal, as I say, new terminal, because it's not the familiar one. So when I got back into the airport and had to go to Terminal D, I had to figure out how to get there, because it was like totally new to me. Where I would go in to check in with security was always the same, so I had to go, and it was like this whole long way too. So I had to, I went in through a different terminal, but I was able to check in there, security, and then from there get to Terminal D, or so I forget what it was, Terminal D, and it turns out it was the same gate as when I came in. But I had, Baruch Hashem, I went there purposely earlier because I knew that it was going to be new to me. So the next time I go, Be'ezrat Hashem, hopefully it'll be more familiar if they're going to do it that way. I don't know if it's because they're doing construction, they've redid things, so they moved me around, to change things around for me. So it was a little more challenging. But I had time because it was Rosh Chodesh, and I actually had a Suda on the plane. I normally have a Suda at home or at where I'm living. It's not my home. I consider it where I live. It's not home to me. But I usually don't travel. I try not to travel on Rosh Chodesh so I can have a nice, elaborate Rosh Chodesh meal. But I had to eat it on the plane. I had no choice because the plane was a little bit late in leaving, and then the time I didn't want to spend time in the airport. So, but on the way back, I had a lot of extra time, so I was able to have a nice meal. It wasn't a Suda meal. I didn't eat bread. I didn't make motzi, but I had a nice meal, sat and relaxed. And then my mom called me on the phone, and I told her this whole story, this whole hashgacha prat, this amazing story, how Hashem just led me, and I was able to find my way, and it turned out for the best. So you never know. I mean, you never know what you're going to experience till it happens, and but you always have to have Beetachon and Muna. I didn't know where I was going. I had no idea. I know I had to get out of the airport. I didn't know how long it would take me to get out. Because it was a totally different direction. But Baruch Hashem, I wasn't on a deadline or a schedule that I had to get somewhere. But it was just, the lack of familiarity that I'm used to. So I just thought that was a very interesting story, and how Hashem just was there to help me, and as He always does. And I hope if you have anything yourself to share, it would be very nice to hear any comments, any feedback, anybody else has any stories they'd like to share as well. So I hope you enjoyed that story. And I also hope and pray that we all merit to live and see the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days, and the building of our final and everlasting Beis HaMikdash. Amen. And thanks for watching.